Texas Tax Professional Advisory Board. Also, I'd like to remind everybody to mute their to mute the microphones and only turn them on when you speak. And when you do so, make sure your cameras are still on. And when you do speak, please announce your name so it can be recorded in the minutes. And also, I would like to move on to item B, where we'll ask Carmen Marshall with TDLR to call roll and certify a quorum.
Yes, sir. Matt Shield,
Present.
Gary Ernest,
Present.
Joseph Vela,
Present.
Mike McDougall,
Present.
and Presiding Officer Tim Radloff.
Present.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Carmen. We'll move on to item C, open government training, and I'll call on Mark Gladney, Assistant General Counsel.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Mark Gladney, Assistant General Counsel. Can all of you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, what we are going to do today is the open government training. It has been a minute since we've met, and it is time for you to get your open government training. And we're going to do our best to meet with each program with an advisory board once per year, as it is a recent policy change brought by our chairman and the executive division. So we're going to try to meet a bit more often to keep you all informed on everything that's going on, and certainly you as members to give us your views on various things that need to be addressed in this particular program. So with that having been said, I'm going to try to see if I can share screen with y'all. And so you can see the open government training materials. So let's see if this is going to work for me. Okay, let me know when you can see the screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay,
Good. I got it.
great. Oh, great. Sometimes I am technology challenged, so thankfully I have some staff in the background that can assist me if something goes wrong. So we are going to get started with the open government training. As you can see, these are the three pieces of legislation that we're going to be discussing during this part of the agenda. The Open Meetings Act, the Administrative Procedures Act, and the Public Information Act, which is also known as the Open Records Act. Okay. Now, the purpose of the Open Meetings Act is to put sunshine on the activities of governmental bodies. Simply to let the general public know the who, what, where, and why decisions are made by an advisory board on issues under its jurisdiction. One of the ways we do that is by making sure the public knows the when and the what we are discussing, and we commonly do that with an agenda. Okay, so that's where the Act requires us to have meetings open to the public and then preceded by public notice of the time, place, and subject matter of the meeting. Now, when does the Open Meetings Act apply? Well, the Act applies when we have a quorum of members. And if we have a meeting with less than a quorum, then we can still conduct the meeting, but no formal action can be taken. So, for example, in this particular board, we have 7 members. And in order to have a quorum, we have to have at least 4 in order to take an official action. So, thankfully, we have 5, I believe, today. So if we have any items in which we have to take an official action, I do believe we have some meeting minutes that are going to have to be approved. We will need to take an official action on that. So that'll be later on down the line in this meeting. Now, another requirement as far as open meetings is concerned is that we have to deliberation. And the act applies when we have deliberation or discussion. It's simple. It means what it says. Deliberation by this board is over issues that are within the board's jurisdiction. So, for example, you won't hear us having discussions over the pros and cons of AC equipment or the type of boiler systems before this board because that's clearly not within your jurisdiction. We are going to be discussing matters related to property tax professionals, and that's what you're going to be doing, and what staff's going to be doing with you during these meetings. Now, when does a meeting occur under the Open Meetings Act? And a meeting occurs when any time we have a quorum of a governmental body that engages in discussion regarding public business or public policy over which you have jurisdiction, or any time that that item in which you have jurisdiction, you take formal action. Okay. And another element of the Open Meetings Act is that we have to provide notice, and I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. Date, time, place, and subject matter of each meeting is required, and we file an agenda before each one of these advisory board meetings, and have to be filed at least 7 days before the meeting and posted online on our website and with the Secretary of State. One thing that's very important is that the board can't engage in any kind of discussions about a subject that's not on the agenda. That makes perfect sense. So it's kind of my job and staff to make sure that we don't stray into any areas of discussion that weren't previously posted on an agenda that was what we were going to talk about. Okay. Now, the Open Meetings Act also has some interesting applications when we have a quorum of members outside of a properly called meeting. So, if you find yourself at a social function or a convention or a workshop, you're certainly free to attend any of those kinds of functions. Just you're not allowed to discuss any issues under the board's jurisdiction that can occur at such functions, only during properly noticed meetings. So, this is your full opportunity to discuss those items that are posted on the agenda. We do it right here at a properly called meeting. When you're outside the meeting, just don't discuss those things. Okay. Now, some of the key points to remember is that when you're outside of a properly called meeting, always just be aware of a situation where you happen to be in which there's a quorum of members present, and again, don't discuss any items that may come before the board. Okay, and one of the big things that we always tell our advisory board members is that you need to be careful about the walking quorum. And you may be asking yourself, what is a walking quorum? Well, a walking quorum occurs when there's fewer than a quorum of members that engage in discussion about official business, and then one or both of those individuals take that discussion and communicate it to some other members who weren't a part of the original discussion. That's a no-no. It's tempting to do that. I've been on boards and commissions myself, and sometimes you might want to talk about various things that come before the board or commission that you may happen to sit on. But we're telling you that that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act, and we're asking you not to do something like that. So the best example is we have a 7-member advisory board like this one, and say 3 of the members exchange phone calls and emails expressing an opinion on some big issue that the board is either going to discuss or wants to discuss. Right? Well, after you have those phone calls and emails, one of the board members decides to forward that to a fourth member. Okay. Once that's done, then four members are aware of what's occurred between the other three members that engaged in phone calls and emails. At that point, you've got a quorum that's aware of all of this information and has had a conversation about it. Maybe not all at the same time, but all four of them are aware of it. That's a walking quorum. We would prefer that you just don't do that. Okay. So, again, please, any issues that are within the board's jurisdiction, please discuss them when we have meetings like this. Okay. Now, walking quorums can occur any number of ways. We've given you some examples as to how they can occur. One of the biggest things is social media. If you have well, I still call it Twitter, but I guess it's X. But you have a Twitter account or a Facebook account or Instagram, and other members of this board actually follow you. If you have you make a post on your account regarding an issue that is within the board's jurisdiction, well, you can basically have communicated that to a quorum of the board. So, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but any official business that's within the board's jurisdiction, please do it right here. That's the best way to go. And it serves the theme of the Open Meetings Act of transparency and sunshine, so the general public is fully aware of the decisions that are made at meetings like this. Okay, so here are some of the best practices to avoid a walking quorum. Don't meet in small groups, as we talked about, to discuss board business. Don't send texts or emails to a quorum of members. Even if you address the email or the text individually, you can't be sure that that person's not going to share with somebody else. So don't do that. Again, stay away from social media discussing board business. And don't ask a quorum of members, even on an individual basis, for any feedback on an issue that could or is before the board outside of a public meeting. It's polling, and that's also a no-no under the Open Meetings Act. Okay, and again, just as a reminder, we are only allowed to discuss the specific items that are on the agenda. We will have a public comment portion in this meeting, and members of the public are given an opportunity to speak. Sometimes we have them live, other times they may submit written comments. And because they're not on the agenda, the board is not allowed to respond to those public comments. If somebody raises a public comment that one or more of you think, hey, this is something good, we might want to talk about this in the future, then we have an agenda item on this very agenda where you can ask for future agenda items, and the staff will put those items on the agenda, and then we can have a full-throated discussion about that agenda item that was raised by public comment. But again, if it's not on the agenda, the board can only listen to the public comment, and we'll just set it up for a future meeting if there's enough individuals that are interested in pursuing that topic. Okay, again, these are some of the best practices for um, open meetings. Okay, and we've already discussed those things, so I don't think that we need to go over that again. And I can forward a copy of this slideshow to you. If just contact either myself or board support, and we'll make sure that you have it. This information is also in your briefing book, so if you want to take a look at that just as a refresher. You're free to do that as well. All right. What are the penalties and the remedies for any Open Meetings Act violations? The civil remedies is that any interested person, including the media, may petition the courts to stop actions taken in violation of the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act also states that any formal action that was taken by a board is voidable. If somebody decides to engage in some litigation and alleges that a board or commission took an improper action, they can file in court for injunctive relief to get whatever formal action was taken reversed. Now, there also are criminal penalties associated with any violations of the Open Meetings Act. And we don't see this very often, but we do live in strange times now. And something that we might not have seen 20 years ago, we have seen from time to time. So, members who knowingly participate in a walking quorum or knowingly participate in a meeting that's closed to the public can be subject to misdemeanor criminal penalties. And those penalties can range from a fine up to $500, confinement in jail for up to 6 months, or both. So, the best thing, again, if you want to discuss something that's within the board's jurisdiction, let's do it in meetings like this. Okay? Again, these are best practices, and we've already discussed these already, so I'm not going to go through them again. And if any of you want to get any extra information about the Open Meetings Act, we've included some links. You may find them in your briefing materials, but if they're not there, again, we'll make sure that you get a copy of this slideshow on request, and you can just click on those links, and they will take you to some very, very good information. The Attorney General's office has got a great open meetings handbook. They also have a video, which you're required by law within the first 90 days of your appointment to view that video. And once you finish it, they will give you a certificate that's suitable for framing. You put it up in your office wall. And, there you go. And of course, if you got any questions whatsoever about the Open Meetings Act, just give us a call. And the number's down there at the bottom on the slide. Okay. That having been said, we're moving to the Administrative Procedures Act. And the Administrative Procedures Act is something that y'all are going to be working with staff quite a bit. And mainly because it deals with the rulemaking process. And while we haven't had too many rulemakings in this particular program over the past several years, you never can tell. Things can change. The legislature is keenly, as you're aware, the legislature is keenly interested in property tax matters. And every session, there's usually some kind of bill or bills out there that may be seeking to make some changes in the property tax system. If they do, and it is something that affects the TDLR rules related to PTP or to PTC, we will be calling upon you in work groups to work with staff to help us either create new rules based on whatever bill was passed, or amend the existing rules. So the purpose of the act is simply to establish minimum standards of practice and procedure for state agencies, and again, to provide transparency and public participation during the rulemaking process. So what is a rule? A rule is just basically a statement of general applicability that interprets, implements, or prescribes law or policy, or describes a procedure or practice requirements of a state agency. Generally speaking, the easiest way to think about a rule is that a rule and it clarifies a statute in the event that that statute needs some clarification. Of course, that clarification has to be reasonable, and it has to be based on this on the statute that's been passed. We can't just, you know, willy-nilly create a rule that doesn't have any basis in a statute. That's a big limitation. Okay, and a rule can include a new rule, an amendment to an existing rule, or a repeal to an existing rule. Okay. Now, where do we get rules? Well, our common sources are going to be bills, of course, um, advisory board members. We get a lot of great ideas from y'all. You know, that's why you're here. And we certainly appreciate anything that you can offer to us as to how to make the program more efficient and better for not just the appraisal districts or uh, the, the the PTCs, but the general public as well. So we certainly appreciate anything because you're on the front lines. You know what happens every single day. So we really do appreciate your input. Staff will come up with ideas for rules. We also do a 4-year rule review, and then a member of the general public, an interested party, can file a petition for rulemaking and give us ideas as to how we can make things better in this program or any other program that we have. And we certainly appreciate all public input. So, as I talked about rule petitions, any interested person can submit a petition to a state agency requiring an adoption of the rule. And we've given you the definition of who an interested person is. And basically, it's just basically any person or business entity that's or governmental subdivision that's located in Texas, and then also public and private organizations that are not state agencies. We get rule petitions from them sometimes. You know, and if it's a great idea, you know, we will certainly take a look at it and possibly act on the petition for rulemaking. I always say a good idea is where you find it. Yeah. So, what's the rulemaking process under the APA? Well, this is a flow chart, as you can see, of our rulemaking process. And, you know, of course, it starts with an idea from the sources I just told you about. Staff will do an internal review and analyze the ideas that we're getting. And then we start writing rules. And we use work groups to help us write great rules. And after we get done writing rules, we'll send them internally to the executive division for their input. The general counsel will also give their input. And once we come up with a rule package that we're very satisfied with, we will send it to the governor's office, and the governor's office will take time and review everything that we've done, and they will give us their opinions and possible changes, and then ultimately a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And you know, if they give us the thumbs down, then we'll make whatever changes that they require of us. And then we will have a first advisory board meeting. So we'll come back to you and we'll show you, hey, this is what we've got. Let's talk about it. You know, what do you think? You know, and then once we have that first advisory board meeting, after we ask you for approval to publish it, we will send that rule package to the Texas Register, Secretary of State, and we will ask them to publish the rules. Now, in between that, we will send out what we call a plain talk summary so that the public knows, hey, we're about to send out a rule package for your review. And you can give us your ideas on what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see changed, or maybe you like the whole thing. But we give the public, you know, a full opportunity to weigh in on the rule package that we put out there. So there's a 30-day comment period after it's published. Then after that 30-day public comment period is over with, the comments come back to us. We take a look at the public comments, and then we have a second advisory board meeting with the advisory board, and that's when we sit down with y'all and we discuss. Hey, this is the rule package that was published. These are the comments that we got back. Sometimes we get a lot of comments. Sometimes we don't get very many. Sometimes we don't get any. People seem to like what we do. If they do, we may not get any comments, or if we do get a comment, it would be in support of the rule package that was published. So after we have the second advisory board meeting, during that meeting, of course, we will ask you for your recommendation to send this up to the commission with your recommendation to adopt the rule package. And then the rules head to a commission meeting, and we ask the commission to adopt those rules. The commission, if they agree, they will adopt the rules with or without changes. And then the adoption notice is filed with the Secretary of State and again published in the Register. And after that, they will become effective, and they will be basically become the rules of the road for the program and the participants in that program. And we move forward. Okay. Now, I did briefly talk about a 4-year rule review process. We do that, as I said, every 4 years. This is the flow chart that shows you how we go about doing that. We file a notice of intent to review. That's published in the Texas Register, and it lets people know, hey, the chapter in which we have the PTP rules is under review. You're free to submit comments and let us know whether or not the rules are still necessary, or if there's something about the rules that you think that need to be changed. You can take that 30-day window and submit your suggestions as to what you think may be changed, or you may like it the way it is and you submit a comment like that. General Counsel's office will review the comments and make a recommendation to the commission. The commission will have a meeting, and we will discuss the rule review filings and the comments, and the commission makes a decision as to whether or not to readopt the rule chapter. Most of the time, they're going to do that. The advisory board will be presented with comments and may recommend changes as well. So that's our rule review process. It's not as in-depth as an actual rulemaking, but it's important nonetheless that we review these rules every 4 years to make sure that they still have a good purpose. And again, if you want to know more about the APA, here are the links. Again, the Texas Attorney General's office has a great handbook that can provide you with extra information. And again, if you have any questions, you want to contact TDLR, the General Counsel's office is right down there at the bottom. Okay. And the last act that we're going to cover is the Public Information Act, also known as the Open Records Act. And the Open Records Act, again, deals with this concept of sunshine and transparency in the activities of governmental bodies. So again, the general public knows exactly what we're doing. Now, the Act makes all documents and records and other information relating to official business open to the public. There are some exceptions. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Public information includes any electronic communication that's created or received or maintained on any device if it's in connection with official agency business. And that includes cell phones. So it's important that if members of the advisory board are using their cell phones for official business, probably shouldn't be doing that. Because if we do get a PIA request, the information that's related to official agency business could be subject to disclosure. So the best thing to do is don't use your personal devices for official agency business. Okay. Now, what's the procedure if we get a PIA request? All right, the requests are submitted in writing. We have an online portal in which a person can request specific records. TDLR has to respond to requests as soon as possible, but not later than 10 business days after receiving the request. We can't ask anybody why they want the records. We can only ask for clarifications. Okay. So, important. We have a very small window in which we can request the records. So, it's important that if we get a request, we got to move on it pretty quickly. Okay. Now, I did say that there are some exceptions to the information that we do disclose. The general rule is that there's a presumption of openness, and if somebody requests some records, the presumption is that we're going to release it. Now, there's certain information that can be redacted from open records, and we've given you some examples on this slide. Date of birth, driver's license, medical information. That those kind of information that's exempted. Okay. If we do disagree, if TDLR does disagree with a request for a specific type of record, we can petition the Office of Attorney General for a ruling as to whether or not we release that information or not. And we will do so if we have any question under the law that a request or certain elements of that request should be denied. Now, there are going to be some times when an advisory board member gets a request. Um, y'all are probably pretty well known in your industry who's on the board and who isn't, and you all might get an inquiry. If you do, or if you get something that possibly looks like an inquiry, don't guess about it. Forward the request as soon as possible to the advisory board team, and our open records team will take a look at it. Okay. And again, the 10-day business deadline applies to all these requests. So again, get something forward to us as soon as possible, and we will take care of it. And these again, if you have any extra interest in the PIA, these are the links that you can go and check out. Again, the Attorney General's office has a video, and it's a video that you're required to take within 90 days of your appointment anyway. That probably doesn't apply to most of you here because you were appointed some time ago. And I'm assuming that you all have already taken that video. But again, if you want to refresh your memory on it, please take it. You'll get yourself a little certificate. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever about the PIA or any of the acts that I've gone through, our phone number's right there. We're happy to help you at any time. Okay. And that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions before we move on to the next agenda item? Okay, hearing none, I'm assuming that you don't have any.
No, thank you for your help.
Okay, Mark, I got a question. I forgot. Can I go back up to item B? I forgot to see if Matt wanted to introduce himself before we moved on.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Matt, if you'd like to say a few words, that'd be okay. I apologize for skipping over you.
Yeah, that's no problem. Just Matt Show, work with Montgomery Central Appraisal District. Um, I was the I was the ag and timber appraiser. Now I've been moved up to the commercial appraiser position. So started at Harris County back in 2001. Came to Montgomery County. Uh, Went over to Waller for a little bit. Now I'm back in Montgomery County. So done residential, commercial, and ag and timber. So also in the past, I was 8 years on the Tomball ISD school board for that time. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay, well, welcome, Matt. We appreciate you willing to serve on the board.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to item D, approval of the minutes of the meeting from May 4th, 2022. If y'all, has everyone had an opportunity to read read the minutes and have any comments
Yes.
about the minutes from that meeting?
Uh,
Dan, this might be doable. I will make a motion to approve if you'll tell me what happened to Shane.
Shane, well, I guess I can tell you that. Shane, of course, Ken Nolan over at Dallas retired and they promoted Shane up into Ken's spot. And Shane's, you know, pretty busy guy, over there having to, that small county that he's over there leading. So,
I understand.
but anyway, yeah, that's what's happened to Shane. Mike's made a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion. Sidney Vella.
Okay, Carmen, would you please do a roll call of the votes for the
Yes, sir.
approval of the minutes?
Matt Schill,
Yay.
Gary Ernest,
Yes.
Joseph Vela,
Yes.
Mike McDougal,
Yes.
and presiding officer Tim Radloff.
Yes.
Motion passes.
One more
Okay.
thing. This is Mark Gladney for the record. Shane may be not here, but he's certainly not forgotten. We do hear from him periodically on certain issues, so and we certainly appreciate his input.
We certainly do. Okay, we'll move on to item E, public comment. And I'd like to announce that we did not receive any public comments, so we don't have anything to talk about here. So we'll move on to item F, staff reports. And I would like to call on Sam Torres from the licensing division.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and advisory board members. I am Sam Torres. I'm from the licensing department here at TDLR, and I'm just here to present these numbers for you. As you see, we broke them down by different license types, um, and also gave you an idea of the number of emails that we receive during that fiscal year 2025. If you have any questions or comments, I can certainly try and answer those for you.
On the emails that you receive, approximately how long does it take to get a response back from the TDLR? Like if someone submits a question to the TDLR, how long does it typically take to get an answer?
It's going to vary between how complex the questions might be, or the problems might be. Generally, we are. I can tell you, we answer emails all day, and we probably, I would say, respond to a good majority of those the very same day. Um, and like I said, there are times where we do have to do a little work and a little research. Um, so those might take a little bit longer. And then, of course, there are the few times where it may even be longer than that. It just depends on the type of question or the type of problem. But we work emails pretty much every day, all day.
Do you have a particular issue that you continually get questions on those emails?
Um, I can't. There's probably a few different ones that stand out for me. A lot of them are about eligibility. A lot of them are, exam eligibility. I'm sorry, eligibility. A lot of them are about uh, continuing education, if they've satisfied their continuing education, or perhaps lot of times it'll be, what do I need? What am I lacking? We're able to go in and look at a licensee's status, and we could see, what they've taken, and just compare that against what's required. Um, so I think those are probably the two uh, major questions that we get a lot most of the time.
Okay, thank you for your response.
You're welcome.
Okay. Sam, if that's all you have, we'll call on Ford Strawn, Director of Education and Examination.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairman and members. My name is Michael Strawn. I'm the Director of Education Examination Division, as just introduced. I'm here to give you my division stats today. As you see in front of you right now, we have all examinations combined on pass-fail rates for FY25 and FY26. You'll notice for Q1, we're actually exactly on par with what we had in FY25 for a pass rate. And in Q2, statistically, we're right in line as well. So pass rates remain very steady across the board. And if you'll scroll down for me. And then this is the examinations by license type. So you'll see Appraiser 3, Level 4, Collector, all the different pass rates that have come through here. One thing I want to notate, and it may come up for discussion later today, but if not, we can also make sure that's available in the future, is we were asked to break down the pass rates, first time and repeat pass rates to see kind of what that looked like and how it was impacting the overall pass rate. And what we were really seeing was oftentimes a first time pass rate around 67 to about 75% of people are passing on that first take. However, the retakes, the people that had failed and were retaking these examinations, their pass rates were anywhere from about 25 to 50% lower in some instances. And so bringing down the overall pass rate. So we'd have 7 people retaking it tons of times and then bringing down the overall pass rate. But what we did see was a first-time pass rate that was pretty good in the highest 67 to 75% range for all of our examinations. Going down to our continuing education statistics. Total courses, you'll see a slight increase from what we had last year, where we had 837 up to 903 at this point in time. And that tracks with our growth across the agency and most of our programs. And if you'll scroll down to our last area. And here's our updates. As you all know or may know, anytime that we have an examination developed here at TDLR, that's actually done in conjunction with a psychometrician and subject matter experts from the industry. They help us compile, originally this examination. They do all the NGOF scorings, ratings, everything else. And they also routinely come back together to identify any needed changes to these exams, whether it's to address overperforming or underperforming items. By items, I mean questions on the examination, or update that exam for any potential law or rule changes that happen. So our last meeting we had, they reviewed 59 existing items, deleted 1, edited 42 of them, and wrote and approved 17 new items for the examination. And they, of course, talked about restructuring the examinations into 3 different levels. So we're always looking at, how we're going to improve this exam, how we're going to improve services availability out there to all of our licensees or potential licensees. With that being said, that concludes my report, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Sydneyville, I have a question on it says the updated examinations are scheduled to be republished on April the 1st of this year. Does that mean that all these additional questions or changes that were made will take effect on the exams beginning April 1?
Absolutely, sir. That is exactly what it means. And apologies for not clarifying that. But yes, any of the reviewed items that were changed, updated, removed will go into those examinations live on April 1st.
Okay. And how many places are available where people can take the exams?
So we have, I forget the last count, but I believe it was 23 different testing sites of PSI across the state. Again, we're always looking, and one of the things I've been the director now for a few months of this division, and one of the things we're looking with and working with PSI and our exam services across the state is making availability more broadly available wherever we can, not only in this program, but in all of our programs. So certainly we know that with the length of these examinations, it cannot be difficult to find a seat at times, and it is top of our list to see how we can move forward on better serving you all with this, because we do know the complexity of these long exams, and being able to find a seat at a testing site can at times be difficult, especially if you're up against a time crunch to get that done.
Yeah, that's something that I've heard from registrants, is that it's difficult to get a seat to be able to take the exam because of the limitation on the number of seats available at any given location. Uh, is there anything that could be done maybe to open up more locations, like at maybe individual appraisal district offices where they could be taken?
Certainly, anytime we're looking at an actual structured PSI testing site or whatever exam vendor we end up with, we look at the populace, the needs, for different counties by zip code or anything else. And certainly something we've been looking at is these third-party satellite testing offices that exist. Um, we can certainly explore those options. I know it's something we've been doing within other programs, looking at the feasibility of it, and happy to entertain that idea here as well. We want to make sure that everybody, no matter which industry they're in, are getting their examinations quickly and timely, because we also know that being able to take that exam as soon as you feel mentally prepared for it also leads to higher pass rates, and we want to get everybody licensed that we absolutely can, that proves they have their competency.
Yeah, and sometimes with the smaller districts, the travel expenses is a consideration as well, because a lot of the smaller districts don't have the budget to be able to send people far away and, put them up in a hotel to be able to take that exam.
Absolutely. Understandable. And there's a lot of tools in our toolkit that I look forward to exploring with our exam vendor across the board, seeing how we can best serve you all. So we'll certainly be in talks, whether it's within education work groups or future discussions. I hope that the next time we meet, we have some updates on how we're better serving the public out there.
All
But
right.
I will take that into consideration.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah, Matt Shield. I was one who brought up the second and third time um, test taker. I know for a lot of our organizations I belong to, that's a real concern. We got people taking that test 3, 4, 5 times, level 3 and level 4. So and they're all taking the practice exams, doing all the prep work they can do, but that's been a real concern. I know I see for the splitting the test up to 3 different test levels, which that maybe can help out. Was any consideration given to person taking a level 3 test, but maybe failing uh, the income portion, and just going back taking the income portion and not the whole level 3 test? Was that any part of it?
Uh, Michael Strawn, Education Examination Division. At this point in time, I have not personally had that discussion. I will tell you from being in this division previously that being able to parse out an exam into just those individual components gets to be very difficult for eligibilities and sending things over, scores, everything else, the way it's kept within our current system. It may not be achievable within this licensing system. You'll probably hear today some updates about a new licensing system that we're going in. So the feasibility could be there for that moving forward. I'll tell you right now, that may be nigh impossible, but certainly something we can look at. Something I have been working on, though, with our examination vendor and with my exam team is looking at pass rates. And some of our programs, we have basically a school score report, like for barber and cosmetology, we have those schools. So the pass rates for those schools is broken down as much as you get your score report as an individual at the end, telling you how you did within certain categories, the categories that are broken out on the candidate information bulletin, the CIB. And so we're hoping to actually make that information available to all of our exams moving forward. I've already presented it to a few of our industries, which will show where, as a whole, people are passing or failing these exams, so that hopefully, instead of having to retake it in the first place, they're able to say, this is an area where generally our industry is struggling, is within this topic, and they're able to address those concerns, brush up on that knowledge before they go into the exam. But certainly, I look forward to discussions with y'all on looking at if there's a way to break them up further, if there's being able to do this in a modular type fashion. Lots of things that are going to be on the table in future discussions, especially as we look at updating our contract and our focus with examinations across the board.
All right, thank you, Matt Schill. Thank you for that, because we've had at my work, we've had two people who basically given up on the RPA. So luckily for them, they had open positions that did not require RPA. So I know that's happened to my organization. That's probably happening all across Texas. So we're losing some pretty decent people that who should have been having RPA, but due to a test for whatever reason. So I'm not saying making it easier, but just maybe some flow, or because I also teach classes. I teach a number of classes there too. So and they're saying some of the test questions that are on the material that I teach are way different than on the test. So I don't know how we can maybe bridge that gap to where it's similar questions, or whatever we can do to make them have better prep for the level 3, level 4 test.
Michael Strawn, Education Examination Division. Certainly, and as I stated earlier, we have subject matter expertise. People that have been in this industry for a long time, writing these examination questions. One of the things I've tasked them with, and I try to reiterate, is every time we have an exam review committee, is that we need to write items to make sure that we're writing it for a minimally competent candidate, not somebody who's been doing this for 25 years and knows every single thing. And make sure we're writing items to that point. We don't want to inorganically make the examination so easy that everybody passes it. We still want to make sure we have people with appropriate knowledge out there. But those are always things that I know that our subject matter experts that are in the RC are looking at. We're always looking for additional people at times to help us with those exams. Of course, if y'all are interested, we're more than welcome to have you, so long as we don't end up with a quorum. And but yeah, we could certainly look at that, and we would always advise any candidate that is taking an examination, if they feel that the question is misleading, incorrect, or anything else, they can actually make a comment directly to our exam vendor at that point in time, and it is highlighted and brought up for review so that we can look at that exam item. And that's something I always tell them. I wouldn't want anybody to be discouraged from that. You're more than welcome to put them in touch directly with me. I'll do what I can to get them rescheduled, or look at where they're struggling within their examination, to get them some better focus on maybe what they need to look at, improve, or materials that maybe you could help them with moving forward.
This is Mark Gladney. We do have item G, and I do think that this discussion is probably a little bit more germane to that particular item. I mean, these are all great points that folks are raising here, and board's done a great job in explaining where things are going as far as this issue. But since we already have an item related to concerns regarding exam requirements, hopefully y'all aren't all talked out on that issue, so that item G doesn't have anything to say. So why don't we just save some of your other questions for that item, and so we can move forward on this particular agenda item.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Call on Myra Rodriguez, Customer Service Division.
Good morning, board members and TDLR staff. My name is Myra Rodriguez, and I am one of the managers in customer service. I'm going to deliver our report on behalf of Claudia Enriquez, who oversees this program for customer service. As you can see here, these are our statistics that we receive in customer service regarding phone calls and emails. One thing to note is just from October of fiscal year 2026 until now, it seems that our contacts have been slightly lower than fiscal year 2025. But again, this is just something to note. It's been consistently just lowering contacts overall. This concludes my report, and I'm available if you have any questions that I might be able to answer.
Sydney Villa, I had a question. Sometimes it's difficult to get a hold of people at the TDLR. I know that I've called the reception line asking for specific individuals, and the people that answer the phone have no idea who those individuals are or any way of contacting them. Is there not a listing someplace that has the different departments or and the people that work in them and how to get a hold of them directly, as opposed to simply sending an email to a big email box and hoping he gets to the right person?
Hi, Myra Rodriguez here. We actually, our contact center, we're not able to transfer phone calls. It's just not a feature that we have available to us or to our agents. For as far as contacts that you're trying to get in touch with, is that like regarding like licensing or compliance or a different department that um, like
Well, it's just that anytime someone is trying to get a hold of the TDLR, it's just very difficult to get a hold of the right person. As you said, they can't transfer directly to an individual, and specific email addresses are not available for the various individuals that work in those departments either. And I'm just wondering why that is. At the comptroller's office, I mean, you can get a hold of anybody in any department. Their phone numbers are listed, or you can email them directly, but that doesn't seem to be the case with the TDLR.
I understand that. I will definitely make note of that and bring it up to the other departments. I'm not sure how I'm the best fit to answer that question as far as like the availability of other divisions, emails, and contact information. But I can definitely relate that over to our director.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to enforcement. We'll hear from Rebecca Burkhalter.
Good morning, board members. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. My name is Rebecca Burkhalter. I'm a senior prosecutor for the Enforcement Division, and I will be covering this report for you today, which mostly covers key statistics. At the very top of the report, you will see the division's performance measures. You'll notice that we have closed more complaints this year than during the same time frame last year. Some of that is due to the prosecutor's focus on closing older cases this quarter. But if you close older cases, you can drive up the average time for closing complaint in days because you've closed older cases that drive that average up. The next section is the criminal history review for applicants who may have disqualifying criminal history. As you can see, we reviewed more applicants during this time frame in 2026, but none of the applicants were denied for licensure based on their criminal history. The next section details where the Enforcement Division's complaints come from, whether they are from consumers or from within the agency. And then the pie graphs at the top of the next page visualize that information for you and compare it to TDLR as a whole. In the orders issued section, you will see we had no orders this year, which means that there were no penalties assessed nor collected. And that concludes my report. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. We'll move on to compliance division and we'll hear from Morgan Dreyer.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Chair and members, for your time. I'm Morgan Dreyer in the Compliance Division. I am a multi-program specialist here. and I will be giving the report today. So as far as personal updates, like I mentioned before, I am the new liaison for property tax professional matters. I will be sharing my personal email at the end of my report, and we can go forward with that. As far as statistics go, for the method and assistance programs for TDLR's 2025 Texas Comptroller and Public accounts for their 2023 methods and assistance program referrals, we received 19 county appraisal districts referred to us. 11 of them through our time together still did not provide any substantial implementations to the maps recommendations. I will not be reading out every county's name just because I did look over them and I do not want to botch them. As far as there were 8 other counties that did substantially implement the MAPS recommendations. As far as the 2023 MAPS county appraisal districts, letters did get sent out that let these county appraisal districts know how we found their recommendations, either if they were in compliance or not in compliance after the year of 2025 of TDLR working with them. As far as current projects go, for the MAPS program, we did receive referrals on January 23rd of 2026. We referred 19 county appraisal districts that did not meet the initial deadline for implementing recommendations. We will be sending out notices to these appraisal districts by the end of the month, and we have a deadline for them to comply with us for December 14th of 2026. Another project that we did just receive is the Targeted Appraisal Review Program, or TARP. TDLR is awaiting this first round from the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts, and we will hopefully anticipate to receive these by the end of March. We have not yet received them. And as far as outreach, I am, of course, the program specialist. I am very much okay with anybody calling, emailing me in regards to this program over any rules, statutes, or anything else that I can help with as far as the MAPS program or TARP program for referral and compliance. And I'm also open to being asked to any meetings, conversation, communications in reference to the property tax professionals programs. My email is attached. It's morgan.dryer@tdlr.texas.gov. And that concludes my report, and I will take any questions. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for posting your email on there.
Yes, of course. And
thank you.
again, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, sorry. And again, if you need me to route you to any other party, I would be happy to help with that as well. I want to be the liaison to help with any of that. So feel free. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to agency update, and we'll hear from Charlotte Milner.
There we go. Whoop, turned off. All right, so my name is Charlotte Melder, and I am the director of the compliance division, and I am here to report on the agency in lieu of Mr. Steve Bruno, who is my boss and is luckily in Ireland, I believe, but definitely out of the country on vacation. So the highlights for this fiscal year, as of September 1 of 2025, TDLR now serves over 1 million licensees in the state of Texas. Just this agency, 1 million licensees. In fiscal year 25, the agency filed or fielded more than 12,000 consumer complaints and conducted more than 7,000 investigations, which resulted in more than 800,000 in consumer restitution. And just for your reference, that is not fines, that is not penalties, that is cash back into the pockets of consumers in the state of Texas, making them whole, $800,000. Legislative updates. The 89th legislative session brought some organizational changes to TDLR with the addition of the Texas Lottery and Charitable Bingo program. These programs will now be administered by TDLR, and a dedicated transition team is helping to incorporate those into the agency. The Texas Lottery successfully generated $1.8 billion with a B for the state of Texas in fiscal year 25, and from $7.91 billion in total sales. And this strong financial contribution comes despite significant market challenges and new consumer protection measures. The vast majority of the lottery revenue is dedicated to supporting essential state services, such as public education, which $1.77 billion was contributed to the Foundation School Fund. And it also supports Texas public schools, including teacher salaries and school operations. The Texas veterans, a record $31.1 million was provided to the Fund for Veterans Assistance to support grants for organizations serving Texas veterans and their families. Senate Bill 1036 created a new program at TDLR, the regulation of residential solar retailers, which began implementation in 2026. And as a result, we now oversee 42 different programs. And finally, HB 4216, which created the regulation of delivery network companies, which we already had the transportation network companies instead of just the delivery of those. Finally, as Ford mentioned, the TDLR Core project is a new licensing system replacement project. We inherited a variety of systems as programs transferred to TDLR. Some enable certain programs to perform tasks online, while others are stuck in paper processes. And this 3-year project will consist of waves of implementation for groups of programs. So all information is in one system and everybody can do everything online, bringing efficiency and modernization to our licensees. And we will keep everybody updated on the progress of that. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, with there being no questions, we'll move on to item G, and thank you, Charlotte, for your report.
Thank
Item G, discussion and possible action of proposed changes to examination requirements related to PTP registrants. I'll call on Michael Strawn.
Sorry, a little delay in my computer over here. So, just a second. Can you see me now?
Yes.
All right. Is there a staff report for this, Carmen, or anything?
Ford, this is Mark Gladney. I can probably step in a little bit on this to give a little bit of context, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For the record, Mark Gladney, Assistant General Counsel. This agenda item was included at the request of some board members and staff to discuss some concerns related to examination requirements for registrants. I think the concern may be with the appraiser designation. However, there may be some others. So I wanted to include this this agenda item in somewhat general terms to allow the members to express any concerns that they may have about the number and the type of exams that have been required in the past in order for a registrant to move up in levels. So if any of the board members have any questions or concerns or suggestions related to this, this is an opportunity for you. I will tell you that we will be more than likely conducting discussions with the appropriate work groups which I think in this particular instance may be the E&E work group, to discuss what changes, if any, may need to be made with regard to the type and the number of exams that are currently being required in order to graduate to a new level. So since I think we're going to probably have discussions with one or more work groups on this, I thought the agenda item was a good opportunity for the board members to briefly say any thoughts that they may have on it, so that when we do meet with the work group, they'll have an idea as to what the board overall is thinking about. So that was the reasoning for including this particular discussion item. Now, in the previous agenda item, when Mr. Strawn was discussing the statistics for E&E, I think that y'all had probably expressed some of the issues that this agenda item takes care of. But if you have anything else that's not repetitive, we'd be more than happy to hear what your thoughts are on
I do.
any
I have
kind
a
of
question for
amendments.
Michael. Yes, this is Gary Ernest. And Michael, in your report, you had stated that the committee is also discussing restructuring the examinations into 3 levels, level 2, 3, and 4. My question is that during your discussions, after you are tested for material in each one of those levels, are you retested on the same material in subsequent levels? So if you're tested in 2, then you're finished. Are you retested in 3 and 4?
So would there be any items that overlap? Michael, sorry,
Yes.
Michael Strawn, Education
Yes.
Examination Division, but basically,
Yes.
would there be any that overlap?
Yes.
Offhand, I do not know every item, and if there is any carryover from one item to the other, I can certainly get you a answer on that. I know typically there are some items that do get shared across exams. I again, from each one, there's such a variety of examinations in the department. It's hard to know every exam that does share items. On this one, I'm not sure if there are any. I will find out for you though.
Okay. Because
This,
a lot of our conversation we've had in the background on this subject alone is that it'd be structured in the same professional manner in which maybe a CPA would go through their core exams. And once they pass that material, then that information is secure. Knowledge transfer is validated to move on to the next stage. I understand the nature of our business and how that you may have some parts of methodology, whether it's cost, market, income, transition into other parts. But for the most part, the methodology and the concept, once covered, we would like to see that then check that box, knowledge transfer, and move on to the next. That has been the aggregate concern.
This has not been one of the exams I know offhand that we have shared items on, so
Okay.
I don't believe that it does. I just would hate to give you incorrect information that there are no shared items, but I don't believe that there are many if so.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And again, this is Mark Gladney for the record. You know, a lot of these issues that have been brought to our attention are going to be delved in much greater detail within the appropriate work group.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, Matt Shield. I'm complete agreement with Mr. Gary there. That's been a real sore subject for a lot of people. Only thing I see for level 2, right now we take law on the backside, like you're the 4th year person. So we're talking about we're gonna do ethics and law, kind of move law up to the 1st year person, and which is no big deal. But anything that we do to where you're right now retesting over and over again, I mean, maybe some very nuanced questions maybe get, but for Mr. Gary, once you check it off, I mean, once I do anything with the income, I'm never going to see income again. So that way we can tell our staff members, hey, make sure make sure we go over the income. Once we get income, we can move on to the next, portion of the test that they need to take care of. So same thing I said, same before. Not making it easier, just we need to let them know, hey, what they're taking, and once we get done with the subject, then we're done with the subject, and not have a reoccurring themes of taking the same question 3 different times.
Michael Strawn, Education Examination Division. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We don't want to, if they've already proven knowledge, we want to do what we can and not have them constantly reapprove that knowledge, certainly. And if that was the case, and we were doing that, we could look to shorten examination time, everything else. So I think that it would be appropriate, as Mark was saying, or Mr. Gladney was saying, we have education and licensing work groups, and this may be something that's kind of talked about in both, the licensing requirements, what's in what we're testing on within the education group. And those are certainly items that we can take into our exam review committees. If there's a severe restructuring of the way that we're looking at what should be within that examination for each level, that's certainly an approach we can take. And I'll tell you that we're open to any discussion that the industry wants to have, that we can do within the confines of our current laws and rules. And certainly as we go into strategic planning here soon, if there are core changes that need to happen within statute, we can look at how those things can be amended to give us the core framework that we need to move forward with what's appropriate and necessary for testing for the knowledge of these individuals moving forward. So I think it's ripe for it. After conclusion of this advisory board, I'll get with my team to look at convening the education work group, and we'll start breaking this down with you all in detail.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, this is Tim Radloff, presiding officer. I think, it's important, that these registrants, have their basic knowledge of each subject matter, but also I think it's important that once they've passed that particular subject matter, that they're not going to be retested on it, for over the testing period. I think once that knowledge is learned, just through their day-to-day work experience, they have a knowledge that that they're going to retain. So, I think it's important if it's broken down into 3 tests, that once they passed or they master that subject matter, that they're not retested on it. Now, I certainly understand there's going to be a few, like you said, Michael, that there's going to be some information that may go over all 3 tests, all 3 tests, but I think it's important that we get everyone involved. We get PSI involved to make sure that they are able to administer these tests if we do make a change in the way that we make the change. So I think it'd be important to have them involved as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. If there's no more discussion on item G, we'll move on to H, reappointment of work groups and possible assignment of tasks. This item, we have some members that are still in these work groups from our last meeting in 2022. As you can see on your screen, that right now, Gary and Mike and myself are on the education committee. I would propose we keep those 3 members if they are up for it. Not hearing any.
That sounds good to me, Tim.
Okay.
Gary Ernest, yes.
Yes, sir. Gary, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, Gary Ernest, yes.
Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, guys. Going on to enforcement, I would propose Sydney, Matt, and Gary, if y'all are up for it.
Sure, that'll be fine.
That's
Okay.
fine by me,
Sydney.
Matthew.
Gary Ernest, yes.
Okay, then we have licensing work group. Got a vacancy, Sydney, and myself. Do I have a volunteer for that spot?
All right.
Or do y'all want me just to name somebody?
I mean, I can do it, Ms. Matthew, I can do it if that's,
Okay,
please blow everybody
Fine.
else.
okay, all right. If that's okay, we'll go ahead and put Matt, Sydney, and myself on licensing.
Okay. Can you email us an updated copy of this once it's complete? I don't have that handout.
Carmen, can you do that for us?
Yes, sir.
All
I'll
right,
send
thank
that
you
out
very
to all the
much.
board members.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
This is
Okay.
Mark Gladney, Assistant General Counsel. We do have 2 slots that are available, public members. I understand that board support is still eliciting applicants for those particular slots. Once we get them filled, then the presiding officer is free to um, put some folks on the various work groups as long as we don't get a quorum. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Carmen, do you have any idea? Are we getting applications on those?
Yes, sir. I'm reviewing 8 currently.
How many?
8.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Mhm.
We've got a lot to pick from. So
Yes, sir.
that's all I had to say on that.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Excuse me. Okay, item I, recommendations for agendas, items for the next board meeting. I would like, presiding officer Tim Radloff, I would like for these work groups to meet sooner than later. I would like to possibly get some stuff on our next agenda. I talked to Carmen about this. I'm thinking maybe August, September timeframe. I'd like to move forward to review this to see if we, maybe we come down to the conclusion we don't need to make changes, but I don't think that's going to be the case, in my opinion. So, that being said, I would like to, get on there, get our work groups working, and make some changes where need be, so we can maybe have a meeting in August or September, so we can make recommendations and go through the rulemaking process in a timely manner. So if anyone, after we have these meetings, we can certainly email Carmen and let her know of any items that we might want to add to an agenda. So if that's okay with everyone, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Mark Gladney, Assistant General Counsel. Just a reminder, and Mr. Strawn brought this up just very briefly. We are in the strategic planning season. We don't have any specific dates, I believe, as to when we are going to have strategic planning sessions, which will involve the public and, of course, yourselves. So if there are any issues related to the statutes in Chapter 1151 of the Occupations Code that the public and certainly the members of this board feel may require some amendment or addition. We will, TDLR is planning to have various sessions so that y'all can participate along with the general public to make suggestions on changes to that particular section of the occupations code. So that's always a great option for y'all too as well.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to J, discussion of date, time, and location of our next board meeting. So again, like
September,
I said,
August is fine.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. September, August, we can do it. Zoom, we can do a hybrid, where we have Zoom and, in person. I'm kind of an in-person guy myself, so, but obviously I certainly, I do appreciate the hybrid part of it. So, Carmen will be polling us for some dates. And if we can, like I said, I'm kind of looking in the August, September timeframe. Again, like I said, I'd like to move the process along as we can. So if y'all be looking for Carmen's emails with that requested data, I would move on to item K, where we can adjourn our meeting at 11:24.
So moved, Matt Shu.
Sidney Villa, I'll second the motion.
Okay,
There's
Well,
no
thank
need
you,
for a
guys.
motion for adjournment.
pardon me?
There was no need for a motion to adjourn. We can just call
Okay.
it at the time.
Okay, all right. Guys, I
Thank you.
appreciate y'all all. It's good, and
Thank
I'm
you.
glad we made the change.